President Donald Trump arguably has had the worst 100-day start of any president in the history of the United States. And it has not been 100 days yet. But the 44 presidents before him, none have started off this bad. Now, I threw my support behind the president, as many other African American men did. We did not want to see Hillary in the control of the country, so we voted for Trump. But Trump is ill-equipped to run the strongest nation in the world. Not only is he ill-equipped to run it, those who are the closest allies to him are ill-equipped to run the country. And the way that we can see this is because Trump tried to make too fast of changes in the first 100 days in the White House. One of the first things he set out to do was to issue the immigration ban against certain Muslim countries. And of course, I could understand that. But only to have those bans overturned by certain circuit judges, in particular one in New York. That infuriated the president, and to his dismay, that still did not work. Speaking further on the issue, the president then issued a demand or an abrupt change to repeal Obamacare, something that he promised he would do. But then the president, according to many news sources last Friday, dropped the ball on that. There is no repeal to Obamacare. And now there is a hustling and bustling in between the two giants of the GOP, President Trump and Paul Ryan. And there's no love lost between these two men because, number one, Paul Ryan feels that Donald Trump is not a true conservative, and he's right. Remember, Donald Trump endorsed Hillary Clinton against Obama. Donald Trump has supported the Democratic Party before. So Paul Ryan does not feel that Donald Trump is really one of him. They have differing ideologies about everything in politics for the most part. And if you can remember when Donald Trump had his little misogyny thing with grabbing women by the you-know-what, it was Paul Ryan that wanted to distance himself from the president. When the president was losing badly in the polls, I believe this was after the Republican convention, which was in Cleveland. But out of some small chance, the president comes from behind and wins in extravagant fashion. And with the Republicans controlling Congress, and with the Republican president, the Republicans are now seeking out Democratic moderates to overturn or repeal Obamacare. Well, why is that? Paul Ryan cannot get it past the Speaker of the House. Now, Donald Trump is not going to play fair because he feels that Paul Ryan didn't do him well. So now the president is calling for his friends over at Breitbart and at Fox News, Jan Pirro, aka Judge Pirro, which the president sent out a tweet say, watch Judge Pirro tonight, and she asked for the Speaker of the House to resign and putting all the blame on Paul Ryan, trying to exonerate Donald Trump. But see, the failure of the president to not deliver is not the biggest problem. The problem that the country sees is that conservatives are ill-equipped to run the nation. Let me repeat myself so I'm not confused. The conservatives, the Republicans, right now are not ready, and they are ill-equipped to run the nation. One thing that's always been taught to me is inexperience shows. And Donald Trump's inexperience is showing. You don't have to like what I say. You don't have to come with me with any bullshit. I supported the president. I still would pick him over Hillary Clinton any day. But the man deserves criticism. Donald Trump is trying to treat the United States as if it is his own business, as if he's the own CEO. And unfortunately, you cannot call the shots in the United States as you would do your own business. This is not a Donald Trump reality show where you're hired or you're fired. You have different oppositions to rules, sometimes in your own party. And now the president is in a situation where he has never been in places like this, where he has to actually answer to somebody or need the help of somebody who hasn't amassed his wealth, who hasn't amassed his status. But yet the Speaker of the House is as powerful as he is. And I would say even with more Republicans, Paul Ryan is more powerful than Donald Trump is, because he is what I would consider a true conservative. Donald Trump is a man running as a Republican. He is not a true conservative. Donald Trump has been exposed to many parts of life doing business. He grew up in Philadelphia, spent a lot of time in New York. He is open to many things that most Republicans are not, due to his lifestyle and some of the things he's seen. Donald Trump is not a true conservative. I believe that is how Paul Ryan sees him. So therefore, they have difference of opinion when it comes to how the country should be ran. And now, what we will see next is the failure of Donald Trump and the GOP to deliver on the tax issue, which will be another dud to the GOP. And not only are we looking at the failure of the GOP as a whole now, or in the White House, as they're blaming people and nobody's taking accountability for the failure of the repeal of healthcare. Well, let's look outside the party. Let's go to the smaller people. Let's look at how the Republican Party is losing steam and how Democrats are becoming emboldened. First, Maya Yiannopoulos, an exciting force in the GOP, is crucified for a statement that I believe people are going to say, oh, well, that's statutory rape. I mean, from his experience as a gay man, him saying what he's saying, I feel that there are probably many people who feel like that. Again, gone. Tomi Lahren, young, bright future in the GOP, axed by Blaze for her freedom of speech, if you will, regarding her choice to be against pro-life. Crucified. Now the GOP leader, Senator Paul Ryan, who has dedicated his life to the right. Paul Ryan's a young man. Young man. Actually, many people see that he has a potential to be president himself one day. However, he is being blamed for not repealing Obamacare and replacing it with something better, being set up by the president himself. Crucified. What are we saying here? What am I saying here? The Republican Party is in shambles. It is a Democrat. It is a joke. It is a Democrat's dessert right now. And if the Republican Party does not get it together, I can assure you, you will not see another Republican Party president for 20 years. Let me mention something here. Richard Nixon, one of the worst presidents in the history of this country, got caught up in the Watergate scandal. His replacement, not the vice president, because he would be also axed or ousted, but a man named Gerald Ford would come to term. Gerald Ford, following in the footsteps of Richard Nixon, finishing out his term, would arguably be even worse than him. And what that said for the presidency, for the Republicans, was that you're not able to run the country. Democrats were emboldened. And I believe after that, we saw Jimmy Carter. Now, Jimmy Carter was probably even worse than Gerald Ford. Outside the situation he had with the Shah in Iran, and the Ayatollah, and the capture of over 100 United States citizens there at the embassy, we are seeing something different with Donald Trump. We are seeing the very worst of the president and the people that he has selected to run the office. I can assure you, the problem is much bigger than what we are seeing. The Republican Party is discombobulated. They are running around with their heads cut off. They do not know what they are doing. And they are making Washington look like a circus. If Donald Trump wants to see another conservative president again, like Mike Pence, which I believe that Donald Trump is fucking it up for Mike Pence to be president, because what people are going to say, you were the vice president to Donald Trump, look what he did, there's no way I'm going to vote for you. At this rate, there will be a Democratic president for a long time. I pray to God that the right can get it together. I pray to God that Donald Trump can get it together. No doubt he's been a man that has been under great adversity before and has been able to figure things out. But this whole blaming, lacking of accountability, pointing fingers at Paul Ryan pointing fingers at whoever, this is not what the American public needs. The American public needs solidification in its leaders.